Welcome to Kung Fu Habit number 2. This is part 2 of people sleeping on Bruce Lee. So I got off track in the other one. I went way on how bad Hollywood treats Asians in America, especially American-born Asians, and things like that, and how certain shows were lucky if they got past season 3. So, like I said, I watched some of these videos online, and people have been putting Bruce Lee down. People are saying that Bruce Lee was not legitimate. People are saying that Bruce Lee couldn't fight, and that Bruce Lee this and Bruce Lee that. And that, to be honest, being that he's not here, you would expect more people to tell these guys, yo, back off a bit. Because one, he's not here to defend himself. Two, if Bruce Lee was alive right now, he'd be well into hitting 80 years old. Because I'm younger than Shannon by maybe 10 years or so. I'm not really sure. I don't really know how old Shannon Lee is, but I know she should be in her 50s because I'm in my 40s. And she still looks good, by the way. And Shannon, if you're out there, I need a job. But the more important thing about this video is that no other martial artists have really been defending Bruce Lee. And that kind of hurts me because he's the one that really put martial art movies on the map. After he died, especially in Asia, there had been one hella boom of martial artists making martial art movies because, the Shaw Brothers and Raymond Chow and other companies just exploded with martial arts. They had Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee again, and some other goddamn body. And everybody was doing whatever Bruce did before he passed. Everybody. It saddens me that none of these people are coming out of the woodwork, not even Bolo, who also been in a couple of Bruce Lee movies, are saying, yo, stop fucking with Bruce like that. So I'm here to say that, and this is my final video for tonight, by the way, and I really think that people need to reevaluate themselves because a lot of the guys that are working, unlike me who's not working, aren't defending the man that made it all possible for them to be where they are. See, here's that thing about Bruce. Bruce is very humble, and Bruce was never really taken serious until after he died. I don't want to follow that path. I like to be taken serious now. But for those who even teach Jeet Kune Do, they can still come forward. With some of the guys that were in the movies, they can still come forward and defend Bruce Lee, and I haven't seen anybody respond to all the martial artists that are street fighters professionally and talking about Bruce Lee like he's nothing. And that hurts my feelings due to the fact that it's Bruce Lee. Alright? So many people reference Bruce Lee to a lot of things, and now a lot of people are like, Bruce Lee's this, Bruce Lee's that, he's the fakest fake guy. And I sit there and I was like, okay, you know why you say that? Because it's kind of like pressure points, alright? Pain and compliance works on most people. The stronger you apply the pressure point to some people, the stronger they're going to feel it. And a lot of people don't believe in pressure points. Well, here, I just tell you, if you don't believe in pressure points, they have not been applied to you properly. Alright? That's just my personal opinion. You don't have to like it. But this opinion on how Bruce Lee is not a legit martial artist, how Bruce Lee was more of an actor than a martial artist, and half of that might be slightly true, because he made a lot of great movies before most of y'all were born, before I was even born. Bruce Lee's last movie was Game of Death, which they had to put together with another person, and the only parts that he really got to be in was probably 3 minutes of the beginning and all of the last part of the movie. Which the last part was shot first with even the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which also shocks me that he hasn't come out and defended his sensei, where, James Coburn and all the other people that were famous that he taught are no longer alive, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is still alive, and he hasn't come out and said, y'all can't be talking about Bruce like that because Bruce legit was real. His shit was the legit shit because Kareem was one of his star students, and you would think that they would all do that, but no. Every time you turn around, you pop on YouTube, if you say something about Bruce Lee, it's not a good thing that people have been saying that Bruce Lee was fake. It is not a good thing that people have been putting Bruce Lee down in every way, shape, and form that they possibly can. And they have been sleeping on the fact that if he was still alive today, and if he was in his prime, if he was as young as he was before he died, if he was 32 years old today, would you really stand a chance against him? In the ring or outside the ring? Here's that thing, and I'm going to touch on this because everybody who's a professional fighter, you can hate me all you want, but you and I both know that in the ring, there are this thing called rules and politics amongst the rules of engagement. And whether you are a wrestler or whether you are an MMA fighter, you know full on well you cannot eye gouge, you cannot hit in the testicles, you cannot use pressure points. You can use a rear neck and choke, but you can't elbow people in the spine. No. That's a controlled environment. That's not a street fight. In a controlled environment, you can use knees. In a kickboxing ring, you can use knees, you can use elbows. You can do damn near anything you want, but you can't thumb somebody in the eye because it's illegal. You can't purposely punch somebody in the throat because it's illegal. You can't purposely try to break a body part because it is illegal. You can submit them, but if they don't submit, some people let go and some people don't. Some people literally will not tap. Just ask Forrest Griffin, or was it Stephen Bonner? One of them got their arms broke and kept on fighting. So, that just goes to show the guts and skill and the love for this sport. But here's that thing about Bruce Lee. None of that shit would exist if he hadn't opened up the world in the West to this shit. The world in the East didn't want nobody who was not Asian to know martial arts. That way, if it ever came down to a fan-based hit-to-hit, hand-to-hand fight, that no one who was not of Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, or any Asian descent would have that tactical advantage. And I will go as far as to say that there was a time where they did not want to teach anyone who was not of Asian descent. When martial arts came to America, it became an Asian-only thing, and they wouldn't teach people. Jun Wee, Bruce Lee, and a few other Asian martial artists changed that shit because there was money to be made, and they made their small fortunes on that shit. And the thing about that is that people don't want to acknowledge that because that's not like the prime time thing. But everybody wants to go around saying, oh, Bruce Lee was not a legit fighter. Bruce Lee was not a legit fighter. And yet you talk to the people on movie sets, where especially in Enter the Dragon, where somebody challenged him in real life and he busted the guy up and told him go and sit back over on the thing because the guy didn't believe that Bruce Lee was legit. But no one's talking about that. No one's talking about all the things that he done that they can prove. Now you're saying, well, you just made movies. You just made movies. Okay. So before I go any further with that, as a martial artist who also makes movies, let me drop two important facts about making movies and martial arts. In the movies, those martial arts are real moves. Do I recommend you using them in a real fight? Fuck no. Because you'll probably get fucked up trying. They look spectacular on camera because they are, one, finishers that you will more than likely never ever have to use. Two, they're very pretty and very graceful. But I can tell you 9 times out of 10 when you watch like these wushu competitions and you watch all these other contests where they douse you with weapons and stuff like that, you will never be in a situation where that shit will be necessary. In a street fight, whatever's there is there. And you're either going to win or lose on your feet or on your back. And 9 times out of 10, and I'm going to say this, I'm not going to win with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Straight up and down. I have no ground game. But I have a plan for that. It's called, I'm not going to let you get me on the ground. That's how fighting works. If you get me on the ground, I got a problem. If you don't knock me out with the first hit, you have a problem. So when it comes down to fighting, you can put Bruce Lee down all you want, but none of us have a time machine, and even if we did, no one's going to take the chance of going back there to find out, is the hype real, or is it just a thrill? Because I got a pretty good saying that I think that if you could get a time machine and go back to fight Bruce Lee, you would probably be in awe, or go back and train with him. Hell, Kareem's still alive. You can go to his house and ask, yo, what's up with Bruce? Was he legit? Was his training legit? James Coburn is not alive. Steve McQueen is not alive. So you can't really ask them. Jim Kelly's not alive. Chuck is still alive. You can go and ask them, was his shit legit? Now, they're going to tell you what they're going to tell you. Either they're going to tell you the truth or they're going to tell you a lie, and probably both will probably hyper-exaggerate the shit. Because we all exaggerate a little bit. An exaggeration is not a lie, it's just a hyping of the truth. But my question for you, because the same thing I tell people who say, well, James, you ain't got no skills, you ain't got no skills, you ain't shit, you ain't got no skills. Ask the people who have fought and they will tell you a different ball game. And I can say the same about people who I fought. If you can hold your own, you got skills. If you're going around bragging on it and putting people down, yeah, I beat that nigga ass, I beat that nigga ass. Eventually, one of them niggas' asses that you beat will come back to haunt you. Unless they just don't. Most of my high school bullies always believed that I couldn't fight until the story I told you 2 videos back. So go watch them. And the longer versions are there, but the shorter versions, the thing is, when it comes to fighting, you're only as good as you have had experience in fighting. If you're fighting someone who has been fighting and fighting and fighting since the goddamn day they were born, you have a problem. It's just as simple. You can choose to acknowledge it, or you can be mauled over by it. I currently have had military training before I went into the military and after I got in the military. Now, I didn't go to SF school. I didn't go to Ranger school. And I'm not going to lie about it and say that I did. I went to regular ass boot camp at Fort Benning, Georgia. Those dog tags over there are fucking real. Alright? My cat card in my pocket, it's fucking real. And I will tell you 2 things. One, my cat card is not in my pocket. It's over there. Just like the dog tags. But I will tell you 2 things. 1, if you have not really been in a fight, you don't know if you're good or not. 2, if you have not really been in a fight, you don't know if you're going to win until the fight's over. You don't know what you can take. You can train until the cows come home. But if you haven't actually engaged in a fight, the best thing I can tell you is be a little scared and be prepared. Because there are no real winners in fights. There are survivors. And when it comes down to Bruce Lee and his legitimacy, you need to ask some of his students who he trained in GKD. You need to ask some of the people who he fought in movies. You need to ask some people who has trained with him side by side. You need to ask people who literally are his Jeet Kune Do practitioners that can train. And if you don't think that they're good enough, then you can fight them. But as I close out, I want to say 2 things. Again, I know you guys are getting tired of that phrase. 1, do you want to take a chance and believe that the hype is not real? Because the hype could not be real. And you could probably go in and win. Or 2, you want to take a chance that the hype is real. And you could go and get your ass kicked. But the Jeet Kune Do community, no. Jeet Kune Do will simply simplify. That's basically what it means. And Bruce Lee, if you watch all of his moves, he keeps everything basic. He keeps everything simple. You rarely see him do a jumping spin kick. Rarely. And I was like, go watch all of his movies. You may catch one that I may have missed. But when you watch Enter the Dragon and he's holding his foot up and he talks to O'Hara and he says, outside. You know, he was holding his foot up with balance. Now, mind you, that balance and strength training is a part of martial arts. If you haven't done any balance and strength training, you should probably look into that. But when it comes down to Bruce Lee, we all need to understand 2 things. I need to stop saying that. We all need to understand at least the fact that he opened the door for everyone. He was not a racist man. He wrote things that he said he wanted to show the world a hero. Unfortunately, he said it was a Chinese hero. And the world at the time of all this stuff, in the 60s and 70s, was at war with certain parts of Asia. And by certain parts of Asia, I specifically mean Vietnam and Korea. Bruce Lee died at close to the tail end of Vietnam. I was born at about the tail end of Vietnam. I was born in 73. By 76, Vietnam still was going on, just not our involvement. And the fact that they still had POWs that they were either going to let come home or not, which no one brings up. But, you know, he opened up the door. And all holy martial art hell floodgates happened. And for these young people in my time, in the 1990s to the 2000s, who are thinking for a New York minute that Bruce Lee is not legit, shame on you. I'm James Williams, Jr. This is Kung Fu Habit number 2. You are entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to disrespect you on it. But I am going to tell you this. Do your research. Bruce Lee was one BMF. It's up to you to believe it or not. But I will say this. If there is a time machine, and if you're mad enough to go back and you find that time machine, swing by me and pick it up. Because I want to record it to see if everything that you do will have a chance against him. This is Kung Fu Habit number 2. be seeing you.